So excited to have her. We're so excited to have Sarah Pattison as our executive director. She's been working very diligently and making shifts and pivots as we go. And welcome to all of you on Zoom. We're so glad to have you with us for our meeting today. And please be safe, healthy, and well, especially during this weather that we have. We will begin our meeting today with the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll hold up the flag and we can all, if you can unmute, maybe we can say it together. This is one time we can unmute and we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we will begin our meeting with the four-way test and invocation by Kay Adkins. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which
which stands
one
nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, President Melinda. Let us bow our heads. We are grateful for all that we have, including the challenges we face in our work and personal lives. The challenges are opportunities to learn and grow in our families and in our community. We appreciate our speaker today quickly stepping in to share her health journey with us. Hearing loss is an invisible issue. We welcome any recommendations she can offer us for learning more about our own health and well-being. We are thankful for all those workers who are trying to keep the roads and essential services operating during this time of severe weather. Please keep them safe. We pledge to work together to advance understanding, goodwill, and peace. Amen. Now, let us repeat the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you.
Thank you, Kay. Thanks very much. Next on the agenda, we'll have a presentation about the Jefferson Awards by Doug Adams. Doug?
Thanks, President Melinda, and thanks, Kay, for leading the four-way test. Rotarians, we really need your help. As many of you have heard, the Rotary Club of Cincinnati is again joining with our co-sponsors, Local 12 WKRC TV and the Cincinnati Enquirer, to find candidates for the 2022 Jefferson Award. Since 2006, the Rotary Club of Cincinnati has been a local sponsor of the Jefferson Award program, looking for those in our community that are doing great public and community service without the expectation of recognition or reward. In our 16 years of leading this effort in Cincinnati, we have sent our winners on to the National Jefferson Award celebration in Washington, D.C., and 9 of them has returned as national winners against tough competition from over 90 other communities nationwide. What great results. It just shows you how much good is being done in our community to make it a better place to live, work, and play. Do you know a unique program that has impacted our community or someone that is doing exceptional community service? Organizations like 1 in 5, La Soup, Free Store Food Banks Rubber Duck Regatta, Crayons to Computer, Lawn Life, and the Cure Starts Now have been recognized as national winners, as was last year's winner, Found Village. But time is running out. To date, we only have a handful of nominations. If you know of a worthy organization, we would greatly appreciate it if you would nominate them for this year's award. The deadline to apply is next Friday, February 11th. If you need the link for the online application or need additional information, please reach out to either Ali at Huseman Group, myself, or Bill Shula for additional information, or you can contact the Rotary office and they can send you the application or answer any other questions. The winner will be announced at the Rotary Club meeting on March 24th. It's always one of the club's best programs each year, and you won't want to miss it. Thanks for your support. We look forward to crowning a new winner on the 24th.
Thank you very much, Doug, for that announcement. And we have our two-time district governor, Bill Shula, on the call as well. And we actually are above, maybe we're 2 minutes ahead, Bill. So if you wanted to just give a very brief comment, since you worked very closely with that, with the Jefferson Awards, we would appreciate it.
No, I want to thank our club members for the support that has been there for the last number of years, and recognizing we have such great service in our community. And we're very fortunate to be working with Channel 12 and also the Cincinnati Enquirer to help recognize the outstanding services that is out there. So please consider making some nominations for this award. And I think it's great that we can recognize service in the greater Cincinnati area and also reach out to Northern Kentucky area as well to make this happen. And thank you, Doug, for your service and working with us. And we can have renominations of finalists that have been there in the past. I've reached out to them as well to see whether or not those sponsors would like to renominate some of those individuals, because it's always a very difficult decision coming up with one super volunteer out there. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bill and Doug, and also Allie Hubbard. They make up the three that make up that committee. So thank you very much for your efforts. And thanks, Bill, for adding those comments, and Doug for all of your work too. Next, we move to Rotary's Got Talent. We'll have a presentation by Don Keller.
Thanks, President Melinda. Good afternoon, everyone. In 2019, we had Lip Sync Battle 1. In 2020, we had Lip Sync Battle 2. In 2021, we had COVID. We don't want to do that anymore. So now in 2022, we are going to have what is going to be known as Rotary's Got Talent. So we are looking for Rotarians who want to show off some of that talent. That might be singing, dancing, karaoke, lip sync, juggling, magic, whatever you feel is a great talent that you want to share with others, somewhere in that 5 to 6, 7 minute type time range, that would be awesome. So we're looking for hopefully 8 to 12 acts. That can be groups, it can be duos, it can be individuals, whatever works for you in terms of showing that talent off to the club. Obviously, we're also looking for everyone to attend and bring guests that evening. So the event will take place on June 25th at 6 o'clock, where we'll be at the gymnasium at Stepping Stones in Norwood. Thanks again to Chris Adams for giving us the facility. We really, really appreciate that, Chris. There's plenty of parking there and so forth, so that will not be an issue. We don't have pricing or sponsorships nailed down yet, so that will be coming. So be on the lookout for that, but at least start thinking about whether you want to volunteer as an act. The exciting part is that this talent event will be a precursor to the celebration of the 100th anniversary that we are doing from a foundation standpoint with Camp Allen. That event will take place on August 27th, so you'll want to mark your calendar for that date as well. There will be a party at Camp Allen that night on August 27th, and you'll hear more about that soon as well. So hopefully this is just to get you thinking about it. That night on August 27th, we will have the winner from our event in June will represent us at that event. We're hoping to get other local Rotary clubs to send a representative as well for a talent show that night on August 27th. So we think it's a big deal. We think it'll be fun. Again, we need you to see what kind of talent we've got in this club, and so start thinking about it. If you could, please let myself or Sarah know by the end of March if you are interested in putting together an act for our talent show. That would be great. So again, mark your calendars for the evenings of June 25th at Norwood, Stepping Stones, and August 27th out at Camp Allen. So again, we're looking forward to having a great time and getting everything back and rolling and having fun again. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Don. Thanks very much. Those were great activities, events that we had that you mentioned previously. Of course, we didn't have one last year, so we're looking forward to having the event Rotary's Got Talent coming up in June. Next, we have an announcement by Erin Folke, who will talk about the professional development series. Erin is a new member, and I got a chance to spend time with Erin when we did a hands-on service project, and I tell you what, she could really handle that drill. I was all excited working and watching her do that, and we're at St. Joseph's School. So great job, Erin. You were a force to be emulated, that we could emulate what you did with putting that shed together and those boxes that we did to plant the fruits and vegetables, help the students. So next we will have this announcement about the professional development series with Erin.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay, great. So I will be working with Kim Elliott, and on February 17th, we will be doing a presentation on social media. So if you're curious, excuse me, about social media, maybe why or how you can use it, either personally or for your business, we encourage you to join us. We're going to kind of just do a basic dive. We're calling it Social Media 101. We're going to look at kind of like the 6 kind of like most popular platforms. So for example, what we're going to cover are Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Pinterest, TikTok, and Twitter. Excuse me. We'll share some basic information about each of the 6 major platforms and why you should maybe consider joining it, how it could maybe help your business. We're going to do a brief tutorial on each site and help you set up your account. So we encourage you, if you're coming and can come, to bring your smartphone, laptop, or tablet so that you can get right in there. This is going to be a hands-on workshop where we'll show a little bit, but we really want to encourage you to get in there and start working on it. So hope you'll join us. It will be February 17th, I believe, at 10:30. We'll get more information about the exact location, but it will be in the in where we have our Rotary meetings. It'll be in one of the rooms, I'm sure, fairly close to where we have our meeting. So I hope you come and join us.
Thank you very much, Erin. We're really looking forward to that workshop. Remember to bring your devices with you because there will be 2 of them to be able to help you set some things up, or maybe if you've gotten stuck in this particular area trying to access one of those new platforms. If you haven't used it, they will be glad to help you. Next up will be our announcements. We have several birthdays this week and a few that have passed. Well, let's see, Christy Shushek, our office manager. Christy's birthday was yesterday. Happy birthday, Christy, a little late. Today, Brad Green's birthday is today. I don't know if Brad's on the line or not. And February 5th is Thomas Bain's birthday. And I got a chance to speak with Thomas, and his daughter just accepted a scholarship to Xavier University. So congratulations to Thomas on that, and a happy birthday. Next, we have Hands-on Service. Dr. Hux Miller, he is the chairperson of our Hands-on Service Committee. He just completed the Hawksworth blood drive, and he said we had a total of 14 Rotarians to give blood, which would equate to, well, he said sometimes, depending on how it's used, about maybe 36 people will be the result of some of those efforts of our blood drive. So thank you, Dr. Hux, and thank you, Rotarians, for taking a part in the blood drive. So our next hands-on service project will be at Matthew 25 Ministries. That we had to change the date. That date now is Saturday, February 26th, from 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock. Matthew 25 Ministries is located at 11060 Kenwood Road. It's an international humanitarian organization that helps more than 20 million people in need each year. Our hands-on service project completed a project there around, I think it was August or September this year. And it was a lot of fun. I think there were about 10 or 12 of us working, packing those boxes to go out of the country to serve those in need. If you've never been there, it's worth seeing and worth your time. I think you will enjoy it. That was a great project as well to have family members. We had some children there and spouses too. It was a great time. So we sorted different types of items, from shoes to medical supplies. Sometimes depending on what they have for the groups to do, they will assign a project to you. So if you would like to volunteer, please contact Dr. Hux Miller. Upcoming Rotary Club programs and events. Please make sure you check the calendar. If you go to the Rotary Club of Cincinnati's website, our events have been updated much more now than in the past. So you can click on the links and there will be a description of the events and activities that we have upcoming. Also, please remember to, it's funny because members will call me and they say, well, you know, I don't quite really read the E-Raise, so I missed it. So please read your E-Raise when you have time. There's a lot of great information in the E-Raise. And one part of that too is a link to Family of Rotary information, gives an update on what's happening with our fellow club members. So we'd like to congratulate second-time Grandpa Rotarian Chris Adams on the birth of Eli Robert Parker Elliott. He was born February 1st, and he was 6 pounds and 3 ounces. And all are doing well. Mom, dad, big brother, they're all doing just fine. So let's congratulate Chris Adams on the birth of his second grandchild. Please send your prayers and condolences out to Rotarian Arnie Behringer, who recently lost his father, Bill. And as we reported before too, we were informed that Rotarian Tom Noonan's wife, Pat, has been ill for about 4 months now and was in the hospital, but is recuperating. So if you could keep the Noonan family in your thoughts and prayers as well. Of course, we had to shift because of the weather. So our meeting next week will be Marcus Margerum, who is the Deputy Director and Chief Business Officer of the Contemporary Arts Center. So that will be in person. Hopefully, we're planning this time. We're going to have a bang next week when we get together for those of you who are interested in coming in person. And for those who would like to join on Zoom, the Zoom option will be there as well. So that ends our announcements, and thanks for your patience as I went through those. So please govern yourselves accordingly. Next, we will have the program introduction by past President Al Conscious. Al?
Thank you, President Melinda. We're very pleased today to welcome Monique Hammond and also her husband Ross, who spoke to us a little earlier. Monique is an expert on hearing loss and has spoken to many Rotary clubs around the country. I think Ross said she spoke to 66 clubs just last year. Looking over her bio, I was reminded of a conversation I was having with a friend of mine a few weeks ago, and he was going on about his hearing aid, and he said, this is the most expensive hearing aid out there, but it's really worth it. It's fantastic. And he just went on and on. So I finally said, well, what kind is it? And he said, it's 2 o'clock. So Monique is a registered pharmacist by trade, and she lost her hearing from a loud folk rock band, which she'll probably tell us about. And it was a life changer for her in several ways because she quit her job at the University of Minnesota and spent 5 years researching the subject and finally wrote a book, appropriately enough, called, what did you say? And she was appointed by the governor of Minnesota to the Commission of Deaf, Blind, and Hard of Hearing, and served 2 terms as the assistant, or as the vice chair. And also she has been the past president of the Minnesota chapter of the Hearing Loss Association. So we're very pleased and very happy that they could join us today. Please welcome Monique Hammond.
Well, good afternoon. I thank you so very much for inviting me to be Zooming with you on a topic that became so fast, so dear to my heart. And that topic is, of course, hearing loss. And so Ross is trying to get my slideshow up here, and there it is. And so I hope that you can all see that now.
Yes.
So anyway, before we even get any further, thank you, Melinda. Before we even get any further, I'd like to say one thing, and that is, if you or somebody that you know has something going on with the hearing, where the hearing all of a sudden is no longer what it used to be and interferes with the job and maybe with quality of life, then it is time to get a hearing test. Because people wait between 7 and 10 years before they even go and act on anything. And so this is something that is important. And what we need is a professional hearing test, not a hearing test online, so where they can test every single portion of the ear. So anyway, before I forget. But anyway, so today we're going to be talking about hearing loss, particularly the hearing loss that we get during our lifetime, not necessarily the hearing loss that we are born with, because that's a different presentation and a different topic. So we'll talk today about hearing loss being a silent epidemic that is already being recognized as being worldwide, becoming more and more a serious public health issue. And so as I found out really fast, there is a lot more to hearing loss. They're not hearing very well. And so I immediately knew that hearing loss changes lives, and almost immediately, and not necessarily for the better. And so, yes, my profession, as you were just told, I'm a hospital pharmacist. And then one day I went suddenly deaf in my left ear in a matter of 4 hours. That's all it took, and life changed right there, like bam. And so that tells us already that hearing loss does not necessarily conveniently happen over a lifetime like what we love to believe. Depending on what the situation is, it can go very fast. Now, according to my physicians, a very loud sound exposure that I had the day before at a church fundraiser of all places really contributed to my issues, because they said that no matter what might have been going on in that ear already, what do we know, a virus, or some kind of a pre-existing condition, they said that that noise insult, as they called it, really contributed to my problems because it overloaded and caved the whole system. And so I knew immediately that my job was on the line, because in my profession, I have to hear accurately. And if I stand there and I'm guessing at what is being said or I misunderstand, I can actually hurt people. And one can also get oneself majorly sued over things like that. And so the job then was on the line, and then I found out, as I needed desperately a plan B for my life, that I also had a lot to learn. Because like most people who come down with a touch of hearing loss, I also didn't know what had just happened to me and all of that. But as I began to learn, all of a sudden, these pieces of the puzzle fell together into place. And all of a sudden, I kind of got that picture. And so I like to say that education in so many ways set me free, because believe me, I was not in a very good place for some time. And so my message then is to people, one of education, oh yes, we have to learn about this. One of prevention, absolutely, but also one of serious empowerment. And not only for ourselves, but also for those who live with us, our families, our children, our grandchildren. And so I got a new mission for my life eventually, and that is to keep people of all ages hearing better and longer. And that gets me into the communities, and that also gets me into the industry, where I just love doing safety presentations for those people who are every day at risk with their hearing because they got loud, noisy jobs. And so why do we call hearing loss a silent epidemic? And that is because our type of hearing loss that we discuss is mostly the result of silent and invisible injury that is happening throughout the, throughout the hearing system. And if it gets bad enough, that can lead actually to a silent and an invisible disability. And that's what hearing loss is oftentimes kind of alluded to as an invisible disability. Now, it affects all ages nowadays. This is not only for old folks anymore. Younger people are getting into the mix. And so Johns Hopkins Medicine tells us that by now 1 in 5 Americans age 12 think about that. These are school-aged kids. But age 12 and over has hearing loss significant enough to interfere with daily communication. And so hearing loss is first and foremost a communication issue. And what people of all ages are struggling the most with is the understanding of speech in the least amount of background sound. And so now we can think of our 12-year-olds who are sitting already, and maybe even younger, who are sitting in schoolrooms that may be noisy, in a virtual classroom, hello, and already they are struggling to understand the details of what is being taught to them. What does that do ultimately to their education and also to their future? And as parents and as grandparents, we really have to start kind of tuning into this and kind of also become much better role models for our children and our grandchildren when it comes to demonstrating hearing hygiene to them. Because most children actually are having their first ear noxious exposures in their own homes, where they should really be safe and they should be protected. And so quality of life changes. Oh, yes. At any age and very fast, because it is a communication disorder. And so people come to us at in our meetings here in Minnesota, and they are telling us that in our support group meetings that, they are no longer feeling like they are engaged oftentimes in talks and also in activities that they might be having, with people that they have known for a long time, their family, their friends, yes, but also their buddies at work. This is a communication issue. It affects people socially and emotionally in every single aspect of their lives. And so people have a tendency then to get depressed over that. And the world of hearing loss is full of depressed people that isolate themselves further and further. They don't want to go to the family barbecue anymore. They rather go to the she shed or to the man cave. And so they isolate themselves. And now that we have a little bit of experience with COVID, where we have to isolate and we have to quarantine and all of that, and we immediately understand how noxious isolation is to the human psyche, maybe today is then a good day for us to be getting a little bit more empathetic with those amongst us who do have hearing loss. But of course, we also have now with the COVID situation, we also have still the situation that we have to wear masks. And those masks, of course, are obstructing the face. And so now there is a big, huge communication tool for people with hearing loss that is knocked out, namely the famous lip reading, which is actually called speech reading. And so we cannot see the facial expressions anymore. Now that has been a problem, and it has been a problem particularly in the healthcare system for some time, where oftentimes we go and we get instructions from a dentist or from a radiologist or whatever, to do this, to do that, look here, look there, and we don't even know that anybody is talking to us. And so here are masks that have been around in the in the healthcare system for some time. They leave the mouth visible. There are also others out there, if you go and Google, that have a larger panel, but they still have to fit around the nose and around the whole face tightly in order to be protective. But at least they give us a fighting chance. And so no, I am not being paid for telling you all of this by this company. This is just something that is out there. And so I tell people, invest in some of these masks, because once we are not having or also for communicating with a person in your family who has hearing loss, these things do not mean that we don't wear masks just because people cannot read lips now. And so I tell people, get a couple of those masks, and when you have to go for an appointment where you're getting instructions, then provide that mask to somebody. Don't always wait for everybody else to accommodate you. We have to also remain independent. But anyway, this is just something that I want to share with you. I also found out very fast that the hearing loss affected me professionally and financially. Oh yes, two major areas where I don't want anybody to take the hits, but I took them. And now Johns Hopkins researchers are also looking at the quality of life issue that we're all concerned about, and that is its ties to dementia. And who wants to go there? And so these are all reasons of why we should be protecting the hearing that we have right now this minute, so that we can still hear tomorrow. And also a reason why we have to prevent hearing loss in any which way that we can. Because seriously, there are many reasons why people can have hearing loss, and they run the gamut from earwax plugs, frankly, to brain tumors. And for this slide, I try to organize a little bit alphabetically some of the most cited reasons oftentimes for hearing loss. When I do that, of course, aging comes out on top, not only because it starts with A, but still because aging is still the #1 leading cause of hearing loss worldwide, because the baby boomers are still aging, and people are also living so much longer. The second leading cause of hearing loss worldwide is the one that I am focusing on in particular, because this is one that we can actually influence, and that is excess noise. And our world is becoming louder by the day, and we are also becoming increasingly, how should I say, careless with our exposures to excessively loud sound. However, excess noise leads to something that is aptly called noise-induced hearing loss. And this is exactly the same type of damage as hearing loss of aging, except for it is an accelerated and a premature aging of the ears. And so an audiologist told me, she said, I'm working with people that are 25, 30 years old, maybe in the first profession of theirs, or maybe still in school, and already their ears are working on the level of somebody that is maybe 45, 50 years old, basically a lot older than what their chronological age is. And so when I'm looking at all of these reasons for hearing loss, there is not so much that I can do about anything. Maybe I can work with an earwax plug, maybe I can work with an infection, but otherwise I am kind of not immediately empowered to do much of anything. However, when it comes to how loud my life is, how loud do I make my life for myself, then all of a sudden it turns out that I actually have quite a bit of power over sound. And so a doctor told me one time, he said, yes, of all of the reasons for hearing loss, this one is entirely preventable. It doesn't have to be this way. People have to realize that as the world is getting louder and as we are cranking it up and up, actually, noise-induced hearing loss is becoming every day more and more a matter of choice. And so what can we do? Well, you know, we can get away from the sound source. We can choose to protect ourselves with earplugs or with hearing protection, the way we would be doing at work. But do we choose to do that? As a matter of fact, most people never even look at the instructions on the back of an earplug package to see how these things are supposed to be installed correctly. And so it goes. We can also choose not to go to these loud venues and to, now that the sports bars are cranking themselves up again and then also, the movies and all of that. But if we do go, then we should at least choose to protect ourselves and to demonstrate that to our children, so that they too can protect themselves when they're going out there and they are mowing the lawn. There should not be a child out there that is mowing the lawn and they don't have any hearing protection. And no earbuds that are cranked up to a power of, I don't know what, are not protection. They are just simply making it worse. And so as parents, we should know what is going in those ears and how protected they actually are. So that's talking about it. But now I am a big believer to go beyond the talk and the oftentimes what people call the blah, 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 and to get it down to what is happening here. And so this is a very simple diagram that I actually made for a book that I wrote about all of this. And so this is a diagram of the ear. And when it comes to noise-induced hearing loss and hearing loss of aging, then the same area is affected because it's the same kind of loss. And so that area is the inner ear, which is the larger structure here on the diagram. And we see the loop-de-loops up on top. We will not address those because they are for balance and equilibrium. We will be concentrating on the snail-shaped organ on the bottom, which is actually the hearing organ of the inner ear. And then also we'll be looking at the nerve, the hearing nerve, which is basically an electrical cord, if you will, that ties the whole thing to the brain. Now, this hearing organ here, that snail-shaped organ, is actually called the cochlea in Latin. And in Latin, cochlea means snail. And so that's why it is called that, because that's what it looks like. We have two cochleas. We have one for each ear, right? And in each cochlea, we have some 20,000 or so very finely tuned and very fragile hearing cells. And that's all we get there for a lifetime. And they run alongside that snail. And these hearing cells, if you imagine that they have to last from the time that we are born to the time that we die, maybe at 105, who knows? They have to last 20,000 or so per year. That's actually not that many. And however, when they become damaged or they die on us, then they will not rejuvenate themselves the way they do in birds and fish. And so we have research going on. And so a researcher told me, oh, well, yeah, technically we can regrow those hearing cells, but there is this one little glitch here. I have to make them work the way the dying and the dead forefathers did. And that's why we are going to have a little wait yet in order before we become the beneficiaries of all of those good results from all of that research. However, it is these hearing cells, these 20,000 or so hearing cells, that are now going to be translating or changing the sound that has traveled their way through the air and through the ear, finally has arrived at this little cochlea that is, by the way, the size of a pea, very small, like in peas and carrots, And so finally that sound has arrived here. And so these 20,000 or so hearing cells are now going to change that sound into electrical signals. And going from one type of energy to a different type of energy is very difficult for Mother Nature to do, but that is actually the process that we are affecting. And so those electrical signals that are then formed in the cochlea, they are going to be traveling then to the brain by means of the hearing nerve, and they are traveling to the hearing portion of the brain. And that's where those signals are being decoded, if you will. They're being analyzed. And so in so many ways, we actually hear with our brain. And so people come to me and they say, well, I can understand that as I'm aging and everything is flabbing out on me, I can understand that these hearing cells also take a hit, but how come that sound is so terribly toxic? And for that, we have to remember that a sound wave is a pressure wave, and it is that sound pressure that is giving sound its volume, its oomph, if you will, but it is also that pressure that becomes so tremendously toxic. And so as it gets loud out there, those sound waves are packing that pressure punch, and they come tearing through the air, tear through the ear, and in the cochlea, those little hearing cells are being beaten down over and over until they bend and they snap, and many might not be coming back to their previous level of functioning. And then one day we might be ending up having symptoms of hearing loss. Everything is dull, like a guy said in a presentation. Life has lost its treble. Sound, speech, music, everything is dull, doesn't have any reference. And so we do not understand speech in background sound anymore. Everybody seems to mumble because we have gone from healthy hearing cells like on top, bam, 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 down, until maybe we have a severe situation going on like what I have in my ear. And I don't think that it takes a scientist to recognize that there is not much standing anymore here, with which to work. And so people who are coming into who have hearing loss and also oftentimes hearing damage also complain of the infamous tinnitus or tinnitus. No matter how you pronounce it, it's always a drag. But it is also always a sign that something is not going right anymore with our ears and hearing. And so we should always find out what causes that buzzing, that hissing, that humming, that roaring in the ears, because there are different types of tinnitus. There are different ways of getting tinnitus, but in over 90% of the cases, it is a symptom of already hearing damage and already hearing loss. And so when we're coming out of those places where it is so loud, our jobs where we didn't protect ourselves, or again the concerts or whatnot, and we have buzzing and ringing in the ears together with feelings of dullness and fullness, we got that shot across the bow by Mother Nature, and it is time to heed the message. Because what we are listening to does not come from the ear. It comes already from the brain. And so we have already kicked up the whole thing a notch or two. And so if we do not heed the message and we do not key back on all of these sound exposures and protect ourselves, then all of a sudden that humming, that buzzing, that ringing, whatever it is, that used to be temporary at some time, and then given some peace and quiet, it would kind of quieten itself down. Oh no, with every single insult, it's going to get worse, it's going to get longer, it's going to get stronger. And pretty soon people are going to be joining my kind of a 24/7 tinnitus club. I'm listening to it. The pressure changes in Minneapolis here with the barometric pressure are awful. And I have like a dental drill in my ear. I can hardly talk over it. And so anyway, tinnitus or tinnitus oftentimes bothers people a lot more than actually the hearing loss that might be underlying it. But as we are going down, bam, 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 we also have to remember that we might be interfering with our ability to get really good help. Like, for instance, hearing aids. Hearing aids are so good now. They are digital. They have, Bluetooth connectivity. They are doing everything. They pretty soon open up your garage door, open up and close it back down. But you know what? They are still only aids, and they help us make the most out of the hearing that we have left. And so, yes, there is a lot that we can do about it, with the technology, but we should also try to preserve our hearing, because all of a sudden we are going to see that nothing in technology is going to be doing it the way Mother Nature once did. Because not only are we killing off our hearing cells, we are also damaging the nerve, because those sound pressure waves are carrying through, and they are now attacking the connections between the nerve and between the hearing cells, and we are disconnecting literally the cells from the nerve. And so as we have then cell damage, we have nerve damage, I think it becomes really clear why those messages that are traveling from the little cochlea to the brain, why they all of a sudden become wishy-washy and weak, and why speech turns every day more and more into gibberish. And so, yes, noise-induced hearing loss is permanent. Remember, we are doing research. It is cumulative. We're piling it on and piling it on, but it is preventable. And this is why we learn about it, why we Zoom about it, talk about it, because all we are doing when we're saying that excessively loud sound is entertaining, fun, and even macho, what are we even thinking of? You know, all we do is we rob ourselves prematurely of a good portion of our quality of life, and also of a good portion with that of our good hearing. We do this actually to ourselves for the most part. And when I'm saying all of that, there is another toxic myth and falsehood that has to die right now in this minute. And that is that excessively loud sound is something that the ears, for some magical reasons, are getting used to. People say, oh, I am tolerant to it, I'm immune to it. No, no, no. The overexposed, overloaded, unprotected human ear does not become used to anything like that. It only gets the deafer to it, deafer and deafer and deafer and deafer. And pretty soon, we don't know anymore how loud it is. You know, all of a sudden, nothing bothers us anymore. But life also very soon is not so much fun anymore. And so people say, well, I would like to protect myself, but how do I even know? I don't know how to measure all of this. And so there is a good rule of thumb, as we say, and that is if you are in a place where you have to yell and scream over background sound, like for instance at our holiday parties that we used to have, or at the famous sports bar, or at the gym, or wherever it is so loud nowadays. You have to yell at somebody who is 3 to 5 or maybe 6 feet away from you. You have to yell and scream in order to be heard. I did not say a word about understood. But just to be perceived, then you're in an industrial strength noisy place, and you really have to back off, get away from the sound source, put some ear protection in, get out there, do something, because you're in danger. Then, of course, nowadays we also have smartphones, right? And we have apps. There are so many apps out there. There are also sound meter apps. But the app has to be supported by the platform that we have, or by the telephone system, because otherwise we are going to get incorrect readings, of course. And so an iPhone needs an i-compatible app, a Droid needs a Droid-compatible app, and so on. And when it comes to MP3 players, they are still out there. People are always wondering how loud they can be set, because, you know, they are going through the earbuds 24/7 for the children oftentimes. And there we have the 60-60 rule. And that comes out of the work that some sound specialists did with some of those instruments that are out there. And of course, the manufacturers never tell us how loud they actually are. And so the first 60 applies to how loud should this be. And so we should be limiting the volume to 60% on the volume dial, because that seems to be where, at least for most of the instruments, there was a sweet spot where people heard still a lot and plenty, but where they at least were not endangering their hearing. Then not only do we limit the volume, we also limit the exposure time. And so we should be not listening for more than an hour at a time. And then we take those earbuds out and we give the brain and the ears a well-deserved rest. And if we go to concerts, you know, people like to go, especially when summer comes on, people like to go to live concerts and whatever. Then Google and find out about musicians' earplugs. They can be made for you specifically by an audiologist. And so musicians' earplugs, also called high fidelity earplugs, because those are earplugs that let you hear everything, but at a lower level. So they do not clip frequencies left and right. And so you hear everything, but at a lower level. Because people oftentimes wonder if it makes a difference whether it is rock music or whether it's a classics. Here is the truth. Mother Nature doesn't care whether we're listening to Beethoven or to Twisted Sister. It doesn't matter. All that matters is what is the pressure level and how long is it going to last. And so Google and look at those earplugs. And so hearing is a precious sense, and that's why I keep on going to Rotaries, because I know there is such a good reputation of us doing a good job of spreading messages nationally and internationally. And so spread the word on this epidemic and learn about it and pay forward what you learned, pay forward what you even heard here today. It is only the beginning, but it is a good start for some kind of a discussion. You can also pay my name forward, can tell other Rotary clubs or social groups or even employers about me, because I'm already out there doing all this job. So anyway, because that's how we spread the word. One person tells the other person, and so that's how people learn. But we also have to look at ourselves and whether we might be contributing. Like, for instance, how loud actually are our Rotary events, you know? And so we have to think about that. We also have to think about, what do I bring home? Like, for instance, for the last holidays, did we bring home again the insanely loud toys and game consoles for the kids and for the teenagers? Did we maybe invest in that small but very potent amplifier for the home entertainment center? And then we turn it up to the last notch so that the walls are shaking and we feel the movie? We have to kind of think about our own thing in this. And so then, of course, Rotarians do that so well, that introspection, and they take it to their communities. And why would they be doing that? Because it all comes under the mantra of service above self. Because what we try to do here is to keep people of all ages hearing better and longer. And so I consider any bit of sound or noise management that we can do, any bit of information that we can give or teaching that we can do, I consider all of that an investment this time into quality of life for now and for the future, so that indeed we will all be listening and hearing so much better and so much longer. And so that the day will never ever come for any one of us when the music just simply dies.
Thank you very much, Monique. That was a great presentation and very educational. Here is the first question. Should we wear earplugs on airplanes? Should we wear earplugs on airplanes?
I tell you what I wear on airplanes, and I never go anywhere without them. I have the noise reducing headphones, and I really love those because they let me, by noise reduction does not mean that we are going deaf. It just takes off some of the background sound. And so that's what I have. That's me on a plane right there. And so on a plane, we should be protecting ourselves. Some people are using earplugs because planes can be awfully noisy inside, and way over the level that is the average level in the industry, which is 85 decibels, and decibels are the units by which we measure sound exposure. At 85 on average in the industry, we have to make the cutoff. And I have been on planes where it was like 90, which is a lot louder, and that's industrial strength noise already. And so, and it lasts for a long time. And so it is loudness and it is exposure time. And so, yes, we should be protecting our ears and our hearing on the plane. And there are also special earplugs for going on planes because they also help equalize the pressure, so that we don't get that, that the ear popping thing going, and so that we reduce the noise for ourselves, but we also equalize pressure. And you can also go and Google those.
Okay, the next question is, this person's son is a rock and roll artist. And when he goes to his son's performance, it can be really loud. So one of the things he does is use some toilet paper that he wads up and sticks in his ear to help out with the sound. And what comments do you have regarding that method that he's using?
Well, first of all, those little wads are really not protective. And another thing that happens is it's the same thing that happens when we are using Q-tips for cleaning the ears. The cotton balls and the toilet paper or whatever, they have fibers, and those fibers then also get into the ears, and they are mixing with the earwax, and then pretty soon you're getting something that is sort of like a big huge plug, and they have to remove it almost in the doctor's office. Earplugs are not very expensive, and I think that anybody who has exposure or opportunities for exposures should be having some. Like, I know people go to church and they have earplugs because nobody listens to them when they say turn the church band down, because it is so loud. So I always have earplugs with me. They don't cost that much, and I learned how to install them correctly. And so that is what we should be using. Now, there is an example out there, Gwyneth Paltrow, the actress who was married to Chris Martin from Coldplay. And she would go to the concerts, of course, and she would take the children along. And I always loved her for doing it. She would come and she'd have the big earphones or headsets on herself, probably noise reducing headphones. And the children, she demonstrated, the children also had their earphones on, and they were yellow and green and red and orange, so that she made that statement. This is toxic. And so all of those recording artists, or many of them, cannot tour anymore nowadays because they have deafened themselves. And so there is particularly Pete Townsend from The Who was saying one time that he was so sorry that his art, that his art caused hearing loss to himself. He's virtually, also kind of deaf. And so he said that his art gave people the hearing loss. It's not the art, Pete. It is not the type of music. It is how loud you played it and how long you listened to it. And so we have to get real with that. And I think anybody that goes to a concert, and as a matter of fact, now here at the Vikings games that are so terribly loud, and also at concerts, they are handing out these earplugs for people to protect themselves. I would say, why don't you just turn it down a smidge? What's wrong with that? Just a smidge. And then I can use my earplugs, and then I'm going to be safe. And people are going to be enjoying then the music so much better and so much longer.
Thank you for that, Monique. The next question is, I've had ringing in my ears since I was 8 years old, caused by a firecracker. And now I've aged, it's become more annoying. Is tinnitus reversible?
The tinnitus, there are, that's why I said there are types of tinnitus that we can work with, but when it is due to damage throughout the hearing sections, we do not have a cure for that. There is research going on, just like there is research into growing the hearing cells, and maybe when they are able to regrow the hearing cells correctly, then all of a sudden we're going to get feedback again to the brain, and then the tinnitus might be getting better. That's what we always hope for. But there is research going on worldwide right now, what we are doing, and with more damage and with more wear and tear, yeah, the tinnitus might be becoming worse. Mine is really bad, and as I'm aging and I'm losing more hearing because I had gotten a little bit back, but never enough to help me hear better. But it helped me with my balance and equilibrium, And so as it's getting worse and all of that, I try to work it, and that's what they do. They do management training with people with tinnitus. And basically it is to settle down the brain, because remember I said it comes from the brain. And so that when the brain settles down, then sometimes the tinnitus, we get distracted and we don't perceive the tinnitus as much anymore, and it settles itself down. And so I'm listening to a lot of low volume nature tunes, nothing where anybody sings any words or whatever, any lyrics, because then I have to concentrate. And so you just let the brain settle down, you quit the excess coffee and the chocolate and everything that kind of peps up the brain some more, because the worse it gets. And so there are management things that we can do, but right now there is no cure, but there is research.
The next question, thank you, Monique, is do you have any recommendations about having the hearing tested and the reliability?
Okay, when I'm talking about hearing tests, I'm talking about professional hearing tests. And for that, you need professional equipment. And so people say, well, I don't like to go to the hearing aid store, because then they immediately try to sell me hearing aids. That's why I go to the ENT office, the ear, nose, and throat office, because they have audiologists also available, and the immediate aim is not to immediately sell to people. And so they test the ear from the outside all the way through the middle ear. They test the inner ear, and they also test our score, how much we understand. They separate what we hear from what we understand. And so that's a professional test, and that's what I do. I go to the ENT clinic. Those things that you have online, that is very nice and fine. But if you have only a little bit of fluid in the ear, an allergy or something, a cold, or you have an earwax plug, sometimes it's an earwax plug, you don't know why you might be recording a loss. And so we go for everything else that is wrong with the body. We go get some professional opinions. Why do we not do that maybe with hearing loss? Because it interferes with every aspect of life.
Well, thank you so very much. Let's give Monique a round of applause. That was a very informative presentation. Monique and Ross, thank you so much for setting it up for this meeting today. This is huge. Thank you all for coming. And Monique, on behalf of your presentation today, we will give a donation to Rotary International for the eradication of polio. But I would be remiss today if I did not thank Dr. Charles Pierce. Dr. Charles Pierce, I don't know if you're still on. He was our member who recommended Monique speak to our club. Dr. Charles?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, would you like to say just a word or two before we close today?
No, her talk this time was as good as the talk when I was up at, or listened to a Zoom from the Rotary Club of Westmount in Canada. Excellent.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Charles. And Monique, thank you very much. And the Rotary Club of Cincinnati really appreciated you coming in at the last moment and speaking to us, sharing a lot about, noise-induced hearing loss and, for us making the right choices to preserve our hearing. We really do appreciate that. And members, we have several Zoom meetings. You should have heard now from your committee chairpersons with the links or your means of communication to meet this afternoon for the 1:30 meeting. And again, our meeting next week will be the Marcus Mergeron, Deputy Director and Chief Business Officer of the Contemporary Art Center. So thank you so very much. Make it a great week, and we will see you in person for those of you who'd like to come next week, Thursday, or again on Zoom. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.